There is a moment that stops time itself. That final breath of a horse. That magnificent being who carried not just our bodies, but our dreams, our sorrows, our deepest longings for freedom. The moment when those great eyes close, when the powerful chest rises one last time and falls into eternal stillness. But what really happens in that sacred instant? What does this noble soul experience as it crosses from one world into the next? Edgar Cayce spoke of horses with particular reverence in his readings. Of all the animals that share our world, horses occupy a unique spiritual position. They are bridges between earth and sky, between human consciousness and wild divinity. And their death, Cayce revealed, is not an ending, but a transformation of extraordinary beauty. Let me tell you what Cayce discovered about that final moment, about what your horse experiences when the physical body can no longer contain the vastness of their spirit. Death does not arrive for a horse as a sudden severing. It is a gentle loosening, like a boat slowly drifting from its moorings. In those last seconds, the horse's consciousness begins to expand beyond the boundaries of flesh and bone. The physical senses, so acute, so finely tuned throughout life, begin to fade, but something else awakens. Cayce described this as the great opening. The horse's awareness, which during physical life was anchored to the body's sensations, suddenly perceives dimensions that were always present but invisible. It is as if a veil lifts, and the horse sees for the first time the luminous reality that exists beyond the material world. In that final instant, there is no pain. This is crucial to understand. Whatever suffering may have preceded this moment, illness, injury, the weight of years, it ends completely and instantaneously. The horse does not gradually feel less pain. The pain simply ceases to exist because the body that generated those signals is no longer the horse's primary reality. What replaces it? A sensation that Cayce called infinite lightness. Imagine carrying a great weight your entire life, so familiar you've forgotten it's there. Then, suddenly, without warning, that weight is gone. You are weightless. You are air itself. This is what the horse experiences in the first seconds after death. But there is more, something that will comfort you deeply if you were present at your horse's passing. In that moment of transition, the horse is acutely aware of you. Your presence, your touch, your voice, these register in the horse's expanding consciousness with crystalline clarity. And Cayce revealed something extraordinary. The horse's last conscious act, while still connected to the physical plane, is often an attempt to comfort you. You may have felt this, that sense that even in dying, your horse was somehow taking care of you, the way their eye found yours. The subtle relaxation when you spoke. These were not reflexes. They were conscious acts of love, the horse's final gift to you from the threshold between worlds. Why do horses transition so differently from humans? Cayce explained that animals, and horses especially, do not carry what he called the burden of separation. Humans spend much of life building walls between ourselves and the world, between body and spirit, between self and other. We construct elaborate mental fortresses, and when death comes, we must dismantle these fortresses, a process that can be difficult and disorienting. Horses never built such walls. They lived in constant communion with the present moment, with the earth beneath their hooves, with the wind in their manes. They never separated themselves from the great flowing current of life. So when death comes, there is no dismantling necessary. The horse simply flows onward, naturally, gracefully, like a river meeting the ocean. Cayce noted that horses possess what he termed natural knowing. This is not intellectual knowledge. It is a deep, wordless understanding that exists in the core of their being. Throughout life, horses know things without being taught when weather is changing, when predators are near, when their human needs comfort. This knowing does not depend on the brain or the senses. It is spiritual perception. At the moment of death, this natural knowing expands exponentially. The horse suddenly perceives the architecture of reality itself, not through thinking or analyzing, but through direct experience. They see know. They become the truth that Cayce spent his lifetime trying to communicate to humans. That consciousness is primary, that matter is temporary, that love is the fundamental force of existence. In those first seconds after the final breath, the horse experiences something we might call recognition. It is not learning something new. It is remembering something ancient. The horse recognizes that it has been here before, not in this specific form, but in this state of being. There is a coming home, a return to something intimately familiar, yet long forgotten. Cayce described the horse's emotional state at this moment as peaceful exhilaration. How can something be both peaceful and exhilarating? Imagine the feeling of cresting a hill on horseback at full gallop, the power, the freedom, the absolute presence, but without any fear, any strain, any limitation. That is the emotional signature of the horse's first moments in the spiritual realm. There is also curiosity. Horses are naturally curious beings, and this trait intensifies rather than diminishes after death. The horse becomes aware that a vast new territory lies before it, and the same instinct that made it explore new pastures during life now draws it forward into new dimensions of existence. But something else is happening simultaneously, something tender and profound. The horse is experiencing the full weight of every connection it made during physical life. Every human who loved it, every companion animal who shared its space, every moment of trust and partnership. All of this floods the horse's consciousness in a wave of golden recognition. This is why some people report that their horse's energy felt even more loving, even more present in the hours immediately after death. It is not imagination. The horse, freed from the limitations of the physical body, can express the totality of its love in a way that was impossible during life. The body filters and limits emotional expression. Death removes those filters. As seconds become minutes, though time itself functions differently now, the horse's awareness continues to expand. During physical life, a horse's consciousness is necessarily focused on survival, food, safety, herd dynamics, territory. These concerns created a kind of boundary around the horse's awareness. Now, those boundaries dissolve. The horse becomes aware of the thoughts and feelings of those nearby. If you were present at the death, the horse knows your grief, feels your love, senses every memory you're holding. But it perceives these things differently than we might expect. Cayce explained that animals do not judge emotions as good or bad. Your grief does not distress the horse in the way you might imagine. Instead, the horse perceives it as energy, as a form of love expressing itself. The horse understands, without words, without concepts, that your pain is a measure of the bond you shared. And the horse honors that bond by remaining present to it. This is why so many people report a paradoxical experience at the moment of their horse's death. Profound grief, mixed with inexplicable peace. The grief is yours. The peace is the horse's gift to you, transmitted energetically across the thinning veil between worlds. The horse is also becoming aware of presences beyond the physical plane. Other consciousnesses are gathering, drawn by the event of transition. These are not strangers. They are souls the horse knows, has always known. Some shared physical life with this horse. Others have been waiting, preparing to serve as guides and companions in the journey ahead. But the horse does not rush to meet them yet. In these first moments, it lingers at the threshold, orienting itself, adjusting to the new reality, and most importantly, maintaining its connection to you. Because that connection, forged through years of partnership and trust, does not break when the body dies. It transforms into something subtler, but no less real. Perhaps the most comforting truth Cayce revealed about horses and death is this: they do not experience fear in the moment of transition. Fear requires attachment to the physical form and uncertainty about the future. Horses, living always in the present moment, do not cling to the body, and their natural knowing gives them an intuitive certainty about what comes next. Even horses who died suddenly, traumatically, do not experience prolonged fear. There may be a flash of instinctive alarm, the survival response, but it passes in less than a heartbeat. What follows is that same peaceful exhilaration, that recognition, that sense of coming home. This means something profound. Your horse's last experience of physical life was not fear. It was release, relief, and the beginning of an adventure more magnificent than anything experienced in the pasture or on the trail. Cayce often said that we should not pity animals in death. Pity implies diminishment, loss, tragedy. But death for a horse is none of these things. It is graduation, liberation, transformation. The horse does not become less. It becomes more aware, more free, more itself than it could ever be while bound to a physical body. So when you remember that final moment, that last breath, know this: your horse was not stepping into darkness. It was stepping into light. The pain ended, the limitations dissolved, and the journey ahead was one of wonder, recognition, and unending love. What happens next? Where does the horse go? Who waits to receive it? And what does the first day in this new reality feel like? This is where the true adventure begins. Your horse has crossed the threshold. The physical body lies still, but consciousness, that magnificent, irreducible essence, awakens in a new realm. Where exactly does the horse find itself? What does this place look like, feel like, sound like? Edgar Cayce was remarkably specific about this. The astral plane where horses first arrive is not an abstract void or a formless dimension. It is an environment that reflects the horse's nature and needs. Cayce called it the astral meadow, and his descriptions of it are breathtaking. Imagine a landscape more vivid than any earthly place you've ever seen. The colors are more saturated, more luminous, as if everything is lit from within. There are rolling hills covered in grass that seems to shimmer with vitality. The sky is vast and clear, but the light does not come from a single sun. It emanates from everywhere at once, gentle and warm. There are streams of crystal clear water, forests of trees that seem ancient and knowing, open spaces perfect for running. But here's what's extraordinary. This environment is not static. It responds to the horse's consciousness. If the horse feels drawn to mountains, mountains appear. If it prefers flatlands, the terrain adjusts. The astral meadow is both a place and a mirror, reflecting what the horse needs and desires. This is not creation in the way we understand it. The horse is not consciously designing its environment. Rather, the astral plane naturally organizes itself around the horse's energetic signature, creating a space where the horse feels most itself, most at home. Cayce explained that different animals awaken in different astral environments because each species has its own nature. Birds find themselves in realms of sky and soaring. Water creatures emerge into vast, luminous oceans. And horses, noble beings of earth and wind, find themselves in endless meadows beneath infinite skies. One of the first things the horse becomes aware of is that its body functions entirely differently now. During physical life, particularly in the final months or years, many horses experience the gradual deterioration of the body. Stiffness sets in. Breathing becomes labored. Movement becomes effortful. The body that was once a source of power and grace becomes a limitation. All of that is gone. The horse attempts to move and discovers it can, not with the careful, measured movements of age or illness, but with the effortless flow of youth. The legs respond instantly to intention. There is no pain in the joints, no weakness in the muscles. The horse can run, and in running discovers something astonishing. There is no fatigue. It can run forever if it chooses, and the joy of movement never diminishes. A horse who lost vision in life suddenly sees with clarity beyond anything experienced in youth. A horse who suffered from respiratory disease breathes deeply, fully, ecstatically. The body is restored, but it's more than restoration. This new form is refined, perfected, made ideal. Cayce noted something fascinating. The astral body of a horse appears as that horse would look in its absolute prime. Not young necessarily, but fully mature, completely healthy, radiating vitality. The scars of physical life may still be visible not as wounds, but as markings of honor, testimony to the journey completed. And the body responds to thought with immediate precision. In physical life, there's a gap between wanting to move and moving. In the astral realm, intention and action are simultaneous. The horse thinks of galloping, and it is already in motion. This takes adjustment, but horses adapt quickly because they are such physical beings. They understand instinctively how to navigate through movement and sensation. Here is something that may surprise you. In those first hours and days after death, many horses don't stay in the astral meadow continuously. They return to the physical places they knew. They come back to the barn, the pasture, the stable. They return to you. Why? Cayce explained that the transition, while natural and peaceful, is still a significant change. The horse has spent years, perhaps decades, in a physical environment with physical companions. The bonds formed there are real and strong. The horse doesn't simply forget or immediately let go of those connections. Think of it like this. Imagine you've lived in the same home for 20 years. You know every corner, every sound, every smell. Then you move to a beautiful new place, better in every way, but it's unfamiliar. You might find yourself driving by your old neighborhood just to see it, just to remember. You're not trying to move back. You're processing the change, honoring what was. Horses do the same thing energetically. They drift back to familiar territory because it helps them orient themselves, helps them understand what has changed and what remains constant. This is why so many horse owners report unmistakable signs of their horse's presence after death. You walk into the barn, and you feel them there. You hear the sound of hoofbeats on the path, even though you're alone. You sense movement in your peripheral vision, and when you turn, there's nothing, and yet you know, absolutely know, that your horse was just there. You're not imagining it. The horse is making what Cayce called etheric visits. These are not hauntings in any negative sense. The horse is not trapped or confused. It is simply using its new freedom to move between dimensions, visiting the places and beings it loves. During these visits, the horse may try to interact with you in familiar ways. It stands at the fence line where it always waited for you. It follows you as you do chores. It rests in its favorite spot in the pasture. These behaviors aren't signs of distress or inability to move on. They're expressions of continuing love and the process of saying goodbye, not a final goodbye, but an acknowledgement that the form of the relationship has changed. Cayce stressed that these visits are temporary. Over the course of days and weeks, they become less frequent as the horse becomes more fully integrated into the astral realm. But in those first days, the horse moves fluidly between worlds, feet in both, honoring both its past and its future. The horse is not making this journey alone. As it awakens more fully into astral consciousness, it becomes aware of presences nearby. These are the guides, the welcoming committee, the souls who have come to help the newly transitioned horse navigate its new existence. Who are these beings? Cayce identified 3 primary types, each playing a crucial role in the horse's transition. First, there are other horses. If you had other horses who passed before, they are there waiting. The reunion is immediate and joyous. Horses are herd animals to their core. Solitude, for a horse, is unnatural and uncomfortable. So the very first thing the guides do is ensure the new arrival knows it is not alone, that it has found its herd again. But it's not just horses from the same earthly herd who appear. Cayce spoke of something he called the ancient herd, a gathering of horse souls who have chosen to remain in the astral plane specifically to welcome and guide newly transitioned horses. These are evolved equine spirits who have lived many lifetimes, who understand the transition process intimately, and who dedicate themselves to service. These ancient herd members communicate with the new arrival in ways that transcend the physical signals horses use in life. In the physical world, horses communicate through body language, through subtle shifts in posture and movement. In the astral realm, communication is direct, consciousness to consciousness. Ideas, feelings, reassurances are transmitted instantly and completely. The second type of presence consists of what Cayce called human soul companions. These are people who loved horses during their earthly lives, and who, after their own death, chose to remain close to the plane where horses transition. They might be famous horsemen and women from history. They might be your own ancestors who had a special bond with horses. They might be souls you never knew in physical life, but who share your horse's energetic frequency. These human guides bring a particular kind of comfort. They bridge the world. The horse knew the world of human-animal partnership, and the world the horse now inhabits. They remind the horse that the love it experienced with humans was real, is real, continues to be real across all dimensions. The third type of presence is more subtle but equally important: nature, spirits, and elemental beings. Horses have always been deeply connected to the earth, to wind and grass and sky. Cayce explained that there are conscious entities, not human, not animal in the usual sense, that embody the living intelligence of nature itself. These beings have worked alongside horses for millennia, and they are present at the transition to welcome the horse into a deeper communion with the natural forces it always sensed but never fully perceived during physical life. When the horse first encounters these guides, there is a moment of recognition that goes beyond memory. The horse doesn't just remember these souls, it recognizes them at the deepest level of being. It's as if the horse is thinking, though thinking isn't quite the right word. Oh, of course, you. Yes, I know you. I have always known you. This recognition happens because, according to Cayce, souls travel in groups. The same souls incarnate together repeatedly, playing different roles, forming different relationships, but always part of the same spiritual family. Your horse has likely shared past lives with some of these guide souls. They've been herd mates before, perhaps in forms we wouldn't even recognize as horses. So when they meet now, it's not an introduction, it's a reunion. The guides don't overwhelm the newly arrived horse with explanations or instructions. They simply offer presence. They graze nearby in the astral meadow, allowing the horse to approach when ready. They match their energy to the horse's energy, creating a field of calm and safety. And slowly, naturally, the horse begins to understand this is home now. This meadow, these companions, this expanded state of being, this is the new reality. And it is good. It is more than good. It is magnificent. One of the most significant adjustments the horse must make is to the sheer scope of freedom now available. During physical life, even the most well-cared-for horse lives within constraints. Fences define territory. Feeding times structure days. The body's needs and limitations shape every experience. All of those constraints are gone. The horse can go anywhere in the astral meadow. Distance is not measured in miles, but in intention. Want to be at the top of that far hill? You're there. Curious about what lies beyond that forest? You're already exploring it. The horse discovers it can move through what would be solid barriers in the physical world. A fence is just a pattern of energy, and the horse can choose whether to honor it or pass through it. This is exhilarating but can also be initially disorienting. Horses are creatures of routine and boundaries. Those structures provide security. So even in the astral realm, many horses initially create familiar patterns for themselves. They establish a home territory within the vast meadow. They create routines, visiting certain areas at certain times, establishing rhythms that feel comforting. The guides support this. They don't push the horse to immediately embrace infinite freedom. They allow the horse to expand at its own pace, gradually exploring further, becoming bolder, discovering just how vast and wonderful this new existence truly is. Cayce noted that horses often spend the first week in the astral realm doing something very simple: running, just running, pure, joyous, unbounded running across endless meadows under eternal skies. For horses who were restricted by injury or age during their final years, this is not just exercise. It is healing. It is celebration. It is the purest expression of what it means to be horse. And as they run, something shifts inside them. The last attachments to the physical body dissolve. The horse stops defining itself by what it used to be and begins discovering what it actually is, consciousness expressing itself in equine form, free, powerful, eternal, and deeply, deeply loved. There is something you need to understand, something that changes everything about how you grieve, how you remember, how you continue living after your horse has died. The connection between you and your horse did not end when the physical body stopped breathing. In fact, in some ways, that connection has become even more immediate, more pure, more powerful than it was during physical life. Edgar Cayce was emphatic about this. Love creates bridges between dimensions that nothing can destroy. When you formed a bond with your horse through years of care, hours of riding, moments of silent communion, you are creating an energetic structure that exists independent of physical proximity. Death changes the form of that connection, but it cannot erase it. Here's how it works. In the astral realm, where your horse now exists, thought and presence are the same thing. When you think of your horse, when you feel that ache of missing them, when you see something that reminds you of them, you are not just thinking about them. You are literally touching them energetically across dimensions. The horse feels this touch instantly. It doesn't matter what the horse is doing, running through astral meadows, communing with other horses, exploring new territories of consciousness. The moment you focus your attention on them with love, they sense it. They feel the warmth of your remembrance, the weight of your grief, the brightness of your joy at memories shared. Cayce described this as the golden thread. Imagine a thread of golden light connecting your heart to the horse's consciousness. During physical life, that thread was there, but mixed with all the complexities of daily interaction, the routines, the work, the physical care. Now, with those practical matters removed, the thread becomes visible in its pure form, and it thrums with energy every time either of you thinks of the other. But there's something else happening that's even more profound. The horse doesn't just passively receive your energy. It responds. When it feels your grief, its immediate instinct, the same instinct it had in life, is to offer comfort. And it does, by sending back waves of peaceful energy, of reassurance, of love. This is why so many people report unexpected moments of peace in the midst of grief. You're crying, overwhelmed by loss, and suddenly, something shifts. A calm descends that makes no logical sense given the pain you're feeling. That's not your mind creating a coping mechanism. That's your horse, from the astral realm, wrapping you in the energy of comfort, doing what horses do best, being present with your emotions without judgment, offering their steady, grounding energy. Your horse is trying to communicate with you. Every day, in small ways and sometimes in dramatic ones, the horse is reaching across the veil to let you know it still exists, still loves you, still is connected to you. But horses can't speak human language, and the methods of communication available from the astral realm are subtle. So they use what Cayce called the language of signs. What does this look like in practice? It varies, but there are patterns. Many people report seeing horses that look remarkably like their departed companion. You're driving, and a horse in a field catches your eye. Same coloring, same build, same distinctive way of holding its head. The rational mind says it's coincidence. But Cayce would say that your horse, wanting to remind you of its presence, influenced the circumstances so that you would encounter that particular horse at that particular moment. It's a hello, a wave across dimensions. Others experience what they call feeling the presence. You walk into the barn, and the air feels different in the exact spot where your horse used to stand. You're out on a trail you used to ride together, and suddenly you feel as if they're walking alongside you, matching your pace. Some people even feel physical sensations, the ghost of a muzzle touching their hand, warm breath on their neck, the sensation of weight leaning against them the way the horse used to do. Cayce insisted these are not hallucinations created by grief. They are actual energetic phenomena. The horse, existing in a realm where thought creates reality, thinks of you, and projects a portion of its consciousness to where you are. You sense that projection as presence, as touch, as companionship. Dreams are perhaps the most powerful medium of communication. During sleep, your consciousness shifts into frequencies much closer to the astral plane. The barriers that separate dimensions in waking life become thin and permeable. This is why dreams of deceased horses feel different from ordinary dreams. They feel more real, more vivid, more significant. Cayce taught that when you dream of your horse soon after its death, and the horse appears healthy, vibrant, and free, that is not your subconscious creating comfort fantasies. That is an actual meeting in the astral realm. Your consciousness and the horse's consciousness are occupying the same space for a brief time. You are together again. Pay attention to what happens in these dreams. Does the horse run with obvious joy, demonstrating its freedom from pain? That's a message. I'm healed. I'm free. Don't worry about me. Does the horse nuzzle you with that unmistakable affection? That's a message. I still love you. Death hasn't changed that. Does the horse look into your eyes with that deep, knowing gaze that you remember so well? That's the horse saying, I see you. I know you're hurting. I'm here. Some people receive messages through synchronicities, involving numbers, names, or symbols connected to the horse. You're randomly thinking about your horse, and someone mentions their name. You're questioning whether you'll ever feel joy again, and a song that reminds you of the horse plays on the radio. You're looking for a sign that they're okay, and you see a rainbow exactly when you need it most. Skeptics dismiss these as coincidence or confirmation bias. But Cayce understood that in a universe where consciousness is primary and everything is connected, there are no meaningless coincidences. The horse, wanting to reach you, influences the field of probability so that these moments occur when you need them most. Now, let's look at this from the other direction. What does the horse experience when it senses you? How does it perceive your grief, your love, your daily life, continuing without its physical presence? Cayce explained that horses in the astral realm perceive emotions as colored light. Your sadness appears to them as a heavy, bluish-gray wave. Your love radiates as golden pink brightness. Your anger, yes, it's okay to feel angry at the unfairness of loss, flashes as red spikes. Your joy at good memories glows with warm amber tones. The horse doesn't judge any of these emotional colors as good or bad. It simply witnesses them, recognizes them, and responds to them. When it perceives your sadness, the response is instinctive. Send comfort. When it perceives your love, the response is equally natural. Send love back, amplified, purified by the clarity of the astral realm. But here's something important. The horse also perceives your journey through grief. It sees you struggling, then finding moments of peace, then struggling again. It witnesses you learning to live with the loss, slowly rediscovering joy, eventually reaching a place where memories bring more gratitude than pain. The horse is not separate from this journey. It is participating in it, cheering you on, supporting you energetically every step of the way. Cayce noted something that might surprise you. The horse's emotional experience of your grief is different from what you might expect. You might think the horse would be distressed to see you suffering. But remember, horses perceive reality differently than humans. They don't view suffering as something inherently bad that must be avoided at all costs. They understand suffering as energy moving through a system as part of a transformative process. So when the horse perceives your grief, what it actually experiences is something like, my human is processing the change in our relationship. This is necessary. This is healthy. They are feeling the full weight of the love we shared. This honors what we had together. The horse doesn't wish you wouldn't grieve. It simply wishes you would know that the love that causes the grief is still alive, still flowing, still connecting you both. There's also this. The horse is aware that you continue living your daily life. If you have other horses, the horse knows about them. It doesn't feel jealous. Animals in the astral realm don't experience possessive emotions. Instead, it feels a kind of benevolent approval. It's as if the horse is thinking, yes, good. My human still has companions. There is still love and care flowing through their days. This is as it should be. If you've struggled to care for the other horses in the weeks after losing your companion, the horse perceives this too, and it sends a particular kind of energy, encouragement. The horse wants you to continue the work, the partnership, the sacred bond between humans and horses. In some way, caring for other horses honors the horse you lost. It continues the legacy of love. During the first weeks after death, your horse exists in a kind of in-between state. It has one foot in the astral realm, experiencing all the freedom and healing and expanded consciousness we've discussed. But it also has one foot still in the physical world, still very much connected to you, to familiar places, to earthly life. This is not a problem. It's not a sign that the horse is stuck or confused. It's a natural part of the transition. Cayce called it the sacred hovering, and he taught that it serves an important purpose for both the horse and the human. For the horse, this hovering period allows gradual adjustment. The astral realm is wonderful, but it's also radically different from physical existence. By moving back and forth between worlds, the horse acclimates slowly. It's like a swimmer gradually entering cold water rather than diving in all at once. For you, this hovering period is a gift. The horse hasn't completely left yet. You can still sense its presence. You can still communicate through signs and dreams. This gives you time to begin accepting the loss while knowing the horse is not entirely gone. It softens the transition for you, just as it does for the horse. But there's a balance that must eventually be found. The horse needs to move forward on its spiritual journey to fully embrace the astral realm and all the evolution it offers. And you need to gradually release the need for constant signs of the horse's presence, learning to carry the connection internally rather than externally. This brings us to something difficult but important. The way you grieve affects your horse's journey. When you hold on to loss with desperate intensity, when you cannot imagine moving forward, when your entire life becomes a shrine to what was lost, you create an energetic pull that the horse feels strongly. The horse, because it loves you, will hesitate to move fully into the astral realm while you're in such pain. It's as if there's an invisible rope connecting you, and your grief keeps the rope taut, keeping the horse tethered to the physical plane longer than is optimal for its spiritual evolution. Cayce was clear. This doesn't damn the horse or you. Eventually, regardless of your emotional state, the horse will complete its transition. But the process is gentler and more natural when you can do something extraordinarily difficult, grieve fully, while also releasing the horse to its journey. What does this look like, practically? It means feeling all your emotions without apology. Cry when you need to cry. Rage if you need to rage. But also, consciously, regularly, speak to the horse in your mind or out loud. I love you. I miss you terribly. And I release you to move forward. Go where you need to go. Experience what you need to experience. I will be okay. We will meet again. This conscious release is one of the greatest acts of love you can offer. You are saying, my love for you is strong enough to let you go. My trust in the continuity of connection is deep enough that I don't need to hold you here. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you release the horse this way, the connection doesn't weaken. It transforms. It becomes less about need and more about pure love. And that kind of love is eternal, unchangeable, unbreakable, by any force in any dimension. We've talked about how the horse awakens in a body free of pain, illness, and limitation. But Edgar Cayce revealed that something far more profound than physical healing happens in the astral realm. The horse undergoes what he called the great healing, a comprehensive restoration of not just the body, but the soul itself. What needs to be healed beyond the physical? The answer might surprise you. Throughout a horse's life, especially in our modern world, they accumulate wounds that go far deeper than injured muscles or diseased organs. They carry emotional scars, energetic imprints, traumatic memories, and the accumulated stress of living in conditions often far removed from their natural state. Think about what many horses experience in physical life. They are born with the instinct to run free in herds across vast territories. Instead, they often spend their lives in stalls, paddocks, and arenas. They are herd animals who crave constant companionship, yet many spend hours alone. They are prey animals whose safety depends on vigilance, yet they're asked to suppress their natural alarm responses and trust that humans will keep them safe. None of this is a judgment. We do the best we can with the resources we have, and the bond between horses and humans is ancient and profound. But we must acknowledge, living in human environments creates stresses for horses, and those stresses leave marks on the soul. Then there are the more obvious traumas. Horses who were neglected or abused before finding a loving home. Horses who endured painful medical procedures. Horses who lived with chronic pain for months or years. Horses who were separated from beloved companions. Horses who were ridden by people who didn't understand them, who demanded obedience through force rather than partnership. Even the best-loved, most carefully tended horse carries some of these marks. They are written into the fabric of the soul, not as damage exactly, but as imprints that need to be gently released so the soul can return to its natural state of wholeness. This is the work that happens in the astral meadow during the first weeks after death. And it is beautiful work, sacred work, healing of the deepest kind. Cayce described the astral plane as being permeated with what he called the healing light of the Creator. This is not metaphorical. It is an actual energetic frequency, a vibration of pure, unconditional love that exists as the fundamental substance of the spiritual realms. In the physical world, light is electromagnetic radiation that allows us to see. In the astral realm, light is conscious, intelligent, transformative energy. It knows what needs healing. It knows how to reach the deepest wounds. And it works continuously, tirelessly, lovingly. The horse doesn't have to do anything to receive this healing. It happens automatically, like a flower turning toward the sun. The horse simply exists in the astral meadow, and the light works through every layer of its being, identifying wounds, dissolving blocks, clearing imprints, restoring the soul to its original clarity. But there's more to the healing than passive absorption of light. The guides, those ancient horse souls and human companions we discussed earlier, play an active role. They work with the newly arrived horse in a process Cayce described as energetic counseling. How do you counsel a horse? Not with words, obviously. This counseling happens through what we might call direct transmission of understanding. The guides help the horse review its life, not with judgment, but with compassion and wisdom. They help the horse understand why certain things happened, what purpose they served, what the horse learned and contributed through each experience. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of the horse's post-death journey, the life review. Cayce taught that all souls, human and animal alike, undergo a review of the life just completed. But for horses, this review is different from the human version. Horses don't analyze or evaluate. They don't think, I should have done this differently, or I succeeded here and failed there. Instead, the horse experiences what Cayce called the sacred remembering. The entire life unfolds before the horse's consciousness, not as a movie being watched, but as a direct re-experiencing of every significant moment. The horse feels again every feeling it had during life, but with a crucial difference. It now also feels the emotions of every being it touched. Let me give you an example. Remember that moment when your horse first saw you after you'd been gone for a while? The way they whinnied and came to the fence, clearly happy you'd returned? In the life review, the horse re-experiences its own joy in that moment, but it also experiences your joy, your relief, your love. It feels the full emotional circuit of the connection. Or think of a moment of fear, perhaps a medical procedure, or a thunderstorm that spooked them. The horse re-experiences its fear, but now it also feels your worry for them, your desire to keep them safe, your sadness that they were suffering. It experiences your love, even in the midst of that difficult moment. This is not punishment. There's no voice saying, see how your humans suffered because of your fear. Instead, it's education, deepening, expansion of understanding. The horse is learning the full impact it had on every life it touched. It's discovering just how loved it was, how much it mattered, how many hearts it opened. The life review also includes moments the horse might not have fully registered during physical life. That child who was terrified of horses but slowly learned to trust because of your horse's patient gentleness. The teenager going through depression who found solace in grooming your horse. The adult returning to horses after trauma, and your horse was the one who helped them heal. Horses affect more lives than we often realize. They teach without teaching. They heal without trying to heal. They offer their presence, and somehow that presence transforms the humans around them. In the life review, the horse sees all of this. It recognizes the full scope of its purpose and contribution. Something remarkable happens as this understanding deepens. The horse experiences what Cayce called sudden joy, a rush of recognition that its life, with all its challenges and limitations, mattered profoundly. It wasn't just a horse living a horse's life. It was a soul on a mission, and the mission was accomplished beautifully. This realization is deeply healing. Any lingering confusion about purpose, any subtle sadness about things not experienced, any restlessness, all of it dissolves in the light of understanding. The horse sees that everything was exactly as it needed to be. For horses who experienced significant trauma during life, the healing process requires special attention. A horse who is starved doesn't just need a restored body. The soul carries the imprint of hunger, the fear that food won't come, the anxiety around eating. A horse who was beaten carries not just physical scars, but deep distrust, a learned expectation of pain from human hands. These wounds cannot be healed by simply explaining that everything's okay now. The emotional and energetic bodies must be worked with directly, and this is where the guides become crucial. Cayce described a process he called the gentle unraveling. The guides, with infinite patience, help the horse revisit traumatic memories, not to relive the pain, but to see the experience from a higher perspective. They help the horse understand that the humans who caused harm were themselves suffering, caught in ignorance, acting from their own wounds. This doesn't excuse the behavior, but it contextualizes it in a way that allows the horse to release anger and fear. More importantly, the guides help the horse recognize that the trauma, terrible as it was, ultimately led to something beautiful. Because someone rescued them. Because they found you. Because they experienced love and safety and partnership. The wound became the doorway to healing, both for the horse and for you. There's a particular kind of trauma that Cayce said requires special healing, the trauma of losing a human companion. Horses bond deeply with their people. When a horse's beloved human dies, especially if the horse wasn't present at the death and doesn't understand what happened, it creates a grief wound in the horse's soul. In the astral realm, this wound is healed through reunion. If your horse lost a previous owner they loved, that person is there in the astral meadow. The reunion happens with explosive joy. The human explains what happened, and the horse understands not intellectually, but at the soul level. The wound of separation closes. The connection is restored. The same thing happens if the horse had to be separated from herd mates it loved. If your horse grieved for another horse who died, they are together now. If your horse was separated from its mother too early and carried that wound, the mother is there or another maternal presence steps in to provide the completion that was missing. Cayce taught that no wound is too deep to be healed in the astral realm. No trauma is permanent. Every scar can become a place of strength rather than weakness. And the horse, with the help of loving guides and the continuous flow of healing, light becomes whole again. This is something Cayce spoke about that might be controversial, but it's important. He said that all domestic animals carry what he called the wound of diminishment. This isn't about abuse or neglect. It's about the fact that horses, in accepting partnership with humans, necessarily gave up some aspects of their wild nature. A wild horse runs where it wishes, eats when it's hungry, rests when it's tired, follows the herd's ancient wisdom about weather and seasons. A domestic horse lives according to human schedules, human needs, human limitations. It wears equipment, it performs tasks, it suppresses natural instincts in order to remain safe in human environments. Again, this isn't condemnation of horse-human partnership. That partnership is sacred and chosen by both parties at a soul level. but it creates a kind of background tension in the horse's experience, a subtle sense of confinement, of potential not fully expressed, of nature partially restrained. In the astral meadow, this wound is healed through what Cayce called the return to wildness. The horse rediscovers its completely untamed nature. It remembers what it's like to be pure horse, unconditioned by human needs. It runs with the ancient herd, connects with the elemental forces of nature, experiences its full power and freedom. This isn't a rejection of the life it had with you. It's a completion of the self. The horse is integrating both aspects of its nature, the wild essence and the domesticated experience, into a wholeness that honors both. Many people worry, if my horse becomes completely wild again, will it forget me? Will it no longer want connection with me? Cayce's answer was definitive: no. The bond between you is not based on dependence or domestication. It's based on love, and love transcends all conditions. The horse can be fully wild and still deeply connected to you. In fact, returning to its wild essence allows the horse to love you more purely, without any of the complex dynamics that physical life required. Some horses die having never fulfilled what they were meant to do in physical life. The racehorse who never got to race. The show horse whose career was cut short by injury. The horse bred for a particular discipline but never got the chance to perform it. The breeding mare who never carried a foal. The stallion who never bred. We might think these horses would carry regret about unfulfilled potential, but Cayce revealed something beautiful. In the astral realm, the horse discovers that its purpose was never about external achievement. The purpose was always about the consciousness developed through the journey, the relationships formed, the love exchanged. That horse who never raced, its purpose was perhaps to teach patience to an ambitious trainer. That horse whose show career ended early, its purpose was to demonstrate that value doesn't depend on performance. That mare who never foaled, its purpose was to lavish all its maternal energy on you. In the life review and the healing that follows, the horse recognizes that nothing was wasted. Every experience, even those that seemed like failures or missed opportunities from the limited earthly perspective, was exactly what needed to happen. There are no mistakes in the design of a life, and nothing is truly left undone. As this understanding penetrates every level of the horse's being, a profound peace settles in. The horse stops striving, stops carrying any sense of incompleteness. It recognizes itself as already whole, already perfect, already exactly what it always needed to be. This is the question that weighs on every heart. When will my horse fully leave? When will these signs stop? When will the connection fade? The answer Edgar Cayce gave is both simple and complex. The timeline varies for every horse and every bond, but there are recognizable phases. The first phase, which we might call the vigil, typically lasts 3 to 10 days. During this time, the horse is intensely present in both realms. It has one foot firmly in the astral meadow, but keeps returning to the physical places it knew: the barn, the pasture, your home. It watches you grieve. It sends comfort. It's almost as if the horse hasn't fully accepted the finality of the change yet. Or perhaps more accurately, it wants to ensure you'll be okay before it moves deeper into its journey. During this vigil phase, signs of the horse's presence are often dramatic and unmistakable. You feel them constantly. You hear them. You dream of them almost every night. Some people even report seeing apparitions, clear, detailed visions of the horse standing in familiar places. Cayce explained these are not hallucinations. They are the horse projecting a powerful portion of its consciousness across the veil, creating a form so focused and intense that even physical eyes can sometimes perceive it. The second phase, which might be called the oscillation, usually extends from the second week to about the third month after death. During this time, the horse is becoming more integrated into the astral realm. It's engaged in the healing process, the life review, the building of relationships with guides and other horses. But it still returns to you regularly, just less frequently than before. The signs during this phase become more subtle and intermittent. You might go several days feeling nothing, then suddenly have a powerful dream or an unmistakable sense of presence. The horse is learning to navigate between worlds more consciously, coming when you really need comfort, appearing when something significant happens, but no longer hovering constantly nearby. This phase can be emotionally challenging for humans because the initial intensity of connection begins to fade. You might worry, are they leaving me? Are they forgetting me? Does the decreasing frequency of signs mean they don't care anymore? Cayce would say, no, absolutely not. The horse's love hasn't diminished, but its journey requires forward movement, and that means spending more time in the astral realm and less time checking on you. Think of it like a beloved child going off to college. They don't stop loving you when they call less frequently. They're simply engaged in important work that requires their attention. And you want them to engage fully, to thrive in their new environment, even as you miss them terribly. The third phase is what Cayce called full integration, and it generally occurs between 3 and 6 months after death. By this point, the horse has completed its initial healing process. It has reviewed its life, released its wounds, expanded into its true nature. It has formed deep bonds within the astral community. It has discovered the vast possibilities available in the spiritual realm. The horse now spends most of its consciousness engaged with the astral plane. Visits to the physical realm become infrequent, perhaps once every few weeks or months, often timed to significant occasions. Your birthday, the anniversary of the horse's death. Times when you're going through particular difficulty and your thoughts of the horse become especially intense. The signs during this phase are often symbolic rather than direct. You might not feel the horse's presence as you once did, but you encounter meaningful synchronicities. You meet another horse who reminds you powerfully of yours at exactly the moment you need that reminder. You find a feather or a flower in an unusual place right after you've been talking to your horse in your mind. These are the horse's way of saying, I'm still with you. I'm just with you differently now. Once the horse has fully integrated into the astral realm, what comes next? Does it simply remain there forever, running through eternal meadows? Or is there something more? Cayce taught that souls, whether human or animal, are on evolutionary journeys. The astral realm is not a final destination, but a phase of existence, a place of rest, healing, learning, and preparation for what comes next. And what comes next is usually reincarnation, the return to physical form for further growth and experience. But the timeline for this is very different from what most people imagine. Horses don't reincarnate quickly. Cayce indicated that most animals spend a significant period in the astral realm, often many years, sometimes decades in human time, before choosing to incarnate again. Why such a long interval? Several reasons. First, the soul needs time to fully integrate the lessons of the previous life. Every physical existence generates enormous amounts of experience that must be processed, understood, woven into the soul's fabric. This cannot be rushed. Second, the astral realm offers opportunities for evolution that don't require physical incarnation. The horse can study, explore, develop new capacities, prepare for future missions. It can serve as a guide for other newly transitioned horses. It can work with human souls on the astral plane, maintaining partnerships that will eventually be re-established in future physical lives. Third, and this is crucial, the horse often waits for you. If the bond between you was deep and significant, a true soul connection, the horse's consciousness knows that it will incarnate again in relation to you. Perhaps as another horse, you will have the privilege of loving, perhaps in a form you don't expect, but the thread of connection will bring you together again. Cayce revealed something extraordinary about this. Souls travel in groups. The humans and animals who share deep bonds are part of the same soul family, and they reincarnate in relation to one another repeatedly. The horse you loved in this life, you've probably loved that soul before in other forms and other times, and you will love it again in lives yet to come. This means that when you eventually transition from physical life yourself, there's a strong possibility your horse will be there waiting. Not necessarily in the form you remember. Souls can take different forms in the astral realm, appearing as they wish rather than as they last appeared physically, but you will recognize each other. The recognition happens at a level far deeper than visual appearance. Here's something that might surprise you. Your relationship with your horse doesn't end with death. it transforms into something even more profound. During physical life, the relationship necessarily involved practical matters. You fed them, groomed them, tended to their health, exercised them. They carried you, worked with you, depended on you for survival. All of that created a beautiful bond, but it was also a bond mixed with duty, responsibility, and physical limitation. Now, with the horse in the astral realm, all those practical necessities fall away. What remains is the essence of the connection: pure love, pure recognition, pure soul-to-soul communion. You can communicate with your horse whenever you wish, not through physical signs necessarily, but through something deeper. In quiet moments, close your eyes and bring your attention to your heart. Feel the love you have for your horse. Speak to them in your mind, and know that they hear you. Not the words necessarily, but the energy, the intention, the love itself. And the horse will respond. You might not hear words, but you'll feel something. A warmth, a presence, a knowingness. You might receive guidance about a decision you're facing. You might feel comfort when you're sad. You might experience a sudden expansion of joy for no logical reason, and know that your horse just sent you a wave of their happiness from the astral meadow. This is not imagination or wishful thinking. According to Cayce, this is real communication between dimensions, made possible by the bond of love you forged during physical life. That bond is a permanent structure in the energetic architecture of the universe. Nothing can destroy it. Time cannot erode it. Distance, even the distance between dimensions, cannot weaken it. You might practice active communication. Set aside time each week to sit quietly, light a candle if you wish, and consciously reach out to your horse. Speak to them. Tell them about your life. Share your joys and your struggles. Ask for their guidance and support. Thank them for the time you had together. Then listen. Not with your physical ears, but with the deeper perception of your heart. What do you feel? What images arise? What knowing settles into your awareness? This is how your horse speaks to you now, through feeling, intuition, subtle energetic transmission. Some people worry this might prevent them from moving forward, keep them stuck in grief. But Cayce taught the opposite. Maintaining conscious connection with a departed loved one, when done in a healthy way, actually supports the grieving process. It allows you to transform grief into loving remembrance, loss into continued relationship. Why do horses come into physical form? Why do they accept partnership with humans? What is the deeper spiritual purpose behind the ancient bond between our species? Cayce addressed this in several readings, and his answer is beautiful. Horses incarnate partly for their own soul evolution. Every physical life offers opportunities for growth. But they also incarnate in service to humanity. Horses are, in Cayce's words, teachers of presence, trust, and surrender. Think about what horses teach us. They teach us to be present in our bodies, to ground ourselves, to feel rather than think. They teach us about partnership that honors both parties' autonomy and nature. They teach us that power and gentleness can coexist. They teach us to move with grace through fear. They teach us about nonverbal communication, energetic attunement, the language of the heart. Your horse came into your life to teach you something you needed to learn. And even though the physical form of the teaching has ended, the lesson continues. The growth the horse catalyzed in you doesn't stop when they die. If anything, their death might be the deepest teaching of all, about impermanence, about love that transcends form, about the continuity of consciousness beyond physical existence. In the astral realm, horses continue this teaching work. They work with human souls who visit during dreams and meditation. They work with newly transitioned humans who need gentle, patient guides to help them adjust to non-physical existence. Horses, with their natural wisdom about presence and trust, make excellent spiritual guides for confused or frightened human souls. Your horse might be doing this work right now. While they maintain their connection with you, they might also be helping others on the other side. This doesn't diminish their love for you. It expands it. Their capacity to love and serve grows exponentially in the spiritual realm, and you are the beneficiary of that expanded love every time you think of them. How do you move forward? How do you live fully while carrying the grief of loss and the joy of ongoing connection? This is the great challenge. and Cayce offered guidance. First, feel everything. Don't suppress your grief. Don't let anyone tell you that you should be over it by now or that it was just a horse. Your grief is a measure of your love, and that love is sacred. Honor it by allowing yourself to feel the depth of it. But also, consciously cultivate gratitude, not instead of grief, but alongside it. Be grateful for every day you had together. Be grateful for the lessons learned. Be grateful that you experienced a connection so deep that losing it hurts this much. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it from something that diminishes you into something that expands you. Second, continue the work. If you have other horses, pour yourself into caring for them. If you don't, find ways to honor the horse-human bond. Volunteer at a rescue. Support organizations that protect horses. Help others learn to ride, to communicate with horses, to develop the kind of partnership you had. Your horse's physical presence is gone, but the energy, the love, the purpose they brought into your life can continue flowing through you into the world. Third, stay open to signs and to the transformed relationship. Don't demand constant dramatic proof of your horse's continuing existence, but remain receptive. Notice synchronicities. Pay attention to dreams. Feel for the subtle presence. Maintain active communication through meditation and prayer. The connection is always there, but you have to turn your attention toward it to perceive it. Fourth, know that reunion is certain. This separation is temporary. When your own physical journey ends and you transition into the spiritual realm, your horse will be there. Cayce was absolutely clear about this. The souls who love each other do not lose one another. You will be together again, and the joy of that reunion will be beyond anything you can imagine now. And finally, trust the journey. Trust that your horse is exactly where they need to be, experiencing what they need to experience. Trust that the timing of their death, however tragic it seemed, was somehow right within the larger pattern of both your soul's evolution. Trust that the love between you is accomplishing something sacred, something that continues to unfold even now. Let me leave you with the deepest truth Edgar Cayce revealed about horses and death. It is also the simplest. Love is eternal. Souls who connect remain connected. And death is not an ending, but a transformation, the next chapter in a story that has no final page. Your horse knows this. They have always known it. Even when they were standing beside you in the physical world, some part of them understood that the bond between you transcends all forms, all circumstances, all apparent separations. Now it's your turn to know it too, not just intellectually, but in the deepest chamber of your heart, where truth lives beyond words. Your horse is free. Your horse is healed. Your horse is surrounded by love and engaged in a magnificent journey. And your horse has not forgotten you, will never forget you, continues to love you from across the dimensions. The golden thread remains. It glows between your heart and theirs, unbroken, indestructible, eternal. One day, when your own physical journey completes, when you take your final breath and awaken into the greater reality, you will understand completely. You will see the perfect design of it all. You will recognize that every moment of grief was worth it because it kept you connected to the deepest truth. Love never dies. And until that day comes, you can live knowing that somewhere in a meadow beyond this world, beneath skies more beautiful than any we've seen, your horse runs free, whole, joyful, magnificent, and remembering you always.